Hey everyone, this is Victor. I'm here with Nicky and Dale, and we're going to be sharing how they did their completed, closed, sold their first flip and made 55K net profit. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good man, yourself.
Great.
Doing good, doing good. So let's start with like what are your guys's, because I want to get into the deal, I want to get into the details. But like what's your guys' background? Where are you from? And just to give us some background on you guys.
I'll give you the 30-second version. We're both obviously Australian by the accents. We went from, I'm ex-Navy. I moved from Australia, or we moved from Australia to Vegas during the pandemic. Pandemic hit my employer pretty hard, so we moved from Vegas to Maine. I started work there as a chief engineer of a hotel, and Nikki started work as a supervisor at Home Depot. And we were mad keen from watching all these stupid flipping shows in Australia, etc. HGTV is a lot to answer for. Mad keen to get into flipping because it's not something you can do in Australia. The laws in Australia are a lot different than what they are in America, especially
Okay.
the tax laws, and the ways to get loans. You can't get a flipping loan in Australia. It doesn't happen. So it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of grind to get the very first house without work.
Right.
And obviously we had started with you mentoring us, and you had talked us through a number of properties when we were in Las Vegas, which I mean we were ready to go, and we'd moved to Vegas at the end of 2019. So we were ready to go. And when the pandemic hit, we were side hustling every which way. We were doing renovations, and we started doing jobs where we were installing toilets and flooring and things like that we'd never done before. Like we had no idea. YouTube is a very good resource. So we were doing that. And then obviously we got involved with you, and we were mad keen. But then when we moved, I think we knew what we were doing in Vegas, and when we moved, I think we were just as excited about it.
Yeah.
But we probably didn't know as much about the market in Maine that we should have before we started.
Okay, so you guys were in Vegas, you moved to Maine, and you started looking for deals at that point. Can you kind of walk me through how that went? Like, how many deals did you guys look at? Or, I know you passed on a couple and then you pulled the trigger on this one. So I'd love to hear that.
So I love looking at deals. I still look at deals, even though we've moved to the Caribbean, where it's very hard to flip. I still look at deals. I love them. I look at everything to do with them. In Las Vegas, you can get a complete history breakdown on, say, Zillow, or the internet gives you all the information in Nevada that you need. How much it's sold for. So you can actually see if someone has flipped the house by, it was sold this month, and then it was sold this month for, 40 grand more or something like that. In Maine, it doesn't, places like Zillow don't have that information, and they don't want you to know it. So we had a look at quite a few different properties. We looked at different areas. We did some research with some local agents. I also worked at Home Depot, so I knew a lot of tradies, as we call them, that were doing similar things. And one of them in particular said to me that a couple of good areas, and we found a place that had been on the market for a long time, and it was beautiful, like even before it was fixed up. And it was just about completely gutted because it had had a flood.
Okay.
So it was a 3-bedroom. It's 3 stories. We had the basement. Once again, this is all new to us. Basements don't exist in Australia. So we had the basement, first floor, and then your second floor. Second floor bathroom had flooded. Had taken out the whole upstairs bathroom, the downstairs kitchen, dining room, and then obviously the basement. So we literally had to build from the ground up. And the funny thing is, the very last thing we completed was the upstairs bathroom.
Oh,
I don't know why. It just was there was one of those things I put off, and it was probably the last thing that we did was the upstairs bathroom. But
and Dale switched the water on and we hadn't connected one of the pipes.
yeah, my bad.
And there was water everywhere. I'm like,
Jeez.
but he was down in the basement. So I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna flood the house after we've finished it. But we
Yeah.
didn't. We got it sorted.
Luckily, yeah, it would have been flooded twice basically. So that
Oh,
luckily
yeah.
that happened. That's awesome. So I know on that one, like you guys were really hands-on on it. Like you were doing a lot of the repairs yourself, and I think you hired an electrician, a plumber is what you're telling me. And I mean, that's pretty much it. So you guys were pretty hands-on. Like, what was that experience like? And like, what did you guys learn by doing the work, being handy yourself?
You learn to like your wife. And
some days.
And flipping a house by itself in winter is hell. There's no other word for it.
It's stupid.
But it was the only option we had. Our margins were so thin, and we'll talk about this later. But we had a large issue that came up that we weren't prepared for. So we both worked full time. Our days off, we tried to do our days off together, so we both at the house at the same time, or we would literally finish work at 5, go to the house until 10, and then back to work the next day. So, as you said, the only people we hired obviously was because I wouldn't plumb by myself. I can do the basics, but we needed a bit more plumbing work and the electrician. And I was lucky enough to find a friend of mine who literally did it for half price.
And we had another friend that was working with you that needed a little bit of extra income that helped us out a lot. You know, he would go to the house and do things when he was off and we were both at work. So he was great. I think also you learn to not put off things that you're scared of doing. One of the things that we were quite scared of doing was, this is stupid, a range hood over the stove. Now,
that was the last thing we did.
I got some great appliances at stupid prices because literally when we would go home, we would cook dinner and I would be on the internet looking at all the deals because we needed all the equipment.
Yeah.
And I thought this stove deserved a beautiful range hood. So I bought one on Wayfair and I thought it was a great deal. All we needed was a box to go around it and I knew exactly what I wanted. And we argued, it was one of the things we argued about because we didn't know how to do it. We didn't know how to put it together. When it came down to crunch time where it had to be done, we had a couple of days and the real estate agent was coming to take photos. It took us less time than what we even imagined. We had put it as such a big task in our head. And it was such a simple thing to do. I say simple, a bit tongue in cheek. It was quite easy though. We'd made it into this big thing. And I think one of the most important things that you should do is the thing you're most scared of doing, do it straight away. Get it over and done with.
Yeah.
Because it gives you this, holy cow, I can do this. And like we can build something that we were terrified of for a month. Like it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I suggest is IKEA kitchens. Something for us to go through a big box was a 3 to 4 month wait, and pick a figure, say $12,000. Money bags here went through IKEA backwards and forwards, and I think we got it for near on $5,000 less.
Really?
Than a big box store, and it probably took us on and off 3 to 4 days to put the kitchen together.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's kids, it's child's play.
Dale went to work. I took some days off work. I actually built the kitchen by myself while he was at work, and he built the cabinets by myself because they're simple. They are so easy. And the quality of them, they come automatically. I should do an ad for IKEA. They come with soft closed doors. Depending on where you live, you can get them delivered. They are amazing. And then when he would get to the house, I'd be like, right, we need to put this one up. We need to hang these ones. And that's what we would do together. But they would all be ready to go.
Yeah. That's crazy. I've never heard of that. I'd usually do Home Depot or Lowe's for the cabinets.
Yeah,
but IKEA makes sense to build it.
It's definitely, once you put up your rail, everything just hangs off that one rail, and that's it. It's
Beautiful.
so easy to do. It's just, yeah.
They also, having worked for Home Depot, I know the quality. I mean, it's not bad quality. It's not. But the quality of the IKEA product, I mean, everything's soft close. The drawers are soft close. And that, you know, it just makes a difference. People walk in and notice, oh, this is a little more high end than what you buy off the shelf. So, and it's not, it's a flat pack. No one knew that. No one had any idea.
That's really cool. That's a really good, that's a solid tip. So there were two things that were kind of surprised on the deals, on your deal. Like I know you made 55, it should have been like 85, 90. So I'd love to hear about those two things. The first thing was the boiler and like what happened there. And the second thing, I think you guys were saying it took an extra 2 months, which affected the profitability. So I'd love if you guys can kind of share like what happened with those two things and how it could have been a better deal.
Once again, being Australians, we don't have boilers. So when we looked at this property, it had a steam boiler in it, which we nicknamed the Dragon.
Okay.
Because it sounded like a dragon when it started up, and it was so basically your steam, it heats your water, your steam goes up through all the pipes, the water condenses, goes back down to the boiler, and then it does it all again. So
through the same pipe.
Through the same pipe, highly inefficient. However, when we did the inspection, the guy said your boiler works. It would probably just need an overhaul. Change this, change that, and you should be good to go. We bought out plumbers, and by the time we went through what we needed to do the boiler, and then we needed to replace radiators, which were like 30 to 40 years old. We had leaks in the system. It literally went from a $15,000 job to a $30,000 job. We ended up putting in a heat pump on a wall. It was literally the size of, I don't even, like a small cabinet.
Yeah.
So
like a single kitchen cabinet.
And we got rebates from the gas company. So when you hooked the main up, hooked the gas up to the building, we got a rebate from those. We got a rebate for the range because we went to get to a gas range too, obviously. So that saved us near on 4,000, I think, give or take, all up.
Okay, that's good.
And we went from over $1,000 a month buying heating oil to the last bill in the really cold month of winter was 175 US. So
it's a big savings, yeah.
Right. And we weren't living at the house, I'll admit that, you know, so we didn't have the temperature really warm all the time. And on Christmas Day, we actually were doing stuff in the basement with no heat whatsoever. So the house was actually very well insulated when we were working. But to go from $1,000 to, you know, $200,
big difference, yeah.
And have the efficiency main sort of stamp of approval on the property was excellent.
And I think the other issue was the basement. The basement was an old basement, but it had a bathroom already down there. All the plumbing was there. So we decided we'd turn it into let's make it a den, for want of a better word. So we replaced all the windows down there. So I did that in winter.
We had to dig out snow to replace
windows in.
We're not very smart.
We went through a pallet of self-leveling just to do the floors.
Wow.
Yeah, a whole pallet.
Yeah. And we had to bring that downstairs ourselves, like just the two of us. Yeah.
But look, the end result, we self-leveled the floor, put down LVP. We re-drywalled the whole basement, so because the ceiling was open.
Yeah.
Redid all that. The bathroom we did cheap. We just did a quick bathroom.
An insert bathroom.
Yeah.
But it looks amazing.
It did look good.
Like when we first walked in there, the floor of the shower in there was black with all kinds of stuff on it. So, you know, it's a bright space now.
Oh, sorry, one thing I will when we bought the property, 3 days before we closed, our real estate rang us up and said we need to get the sewer inspected. And he goes, I know a guy. So the guys turned out. It ended up that the sewer we had at the back wasn't connected to the basement.
Hmm.
So,
The
sorry, to the basement toilet,
what's it called though? It's not sewer.
septic.
Yeah.
Septic.
Oh,
So,
septic. Oh, okay. So
yeah.
it wasn't connected. Yeah.
And because it was below,
And it didn't have leach fields.
no, so we couldn't use it. So, and because it was below road level, the owners, we went back to the owners and said, on your contract it says you have city sewer, which they didn't. So they had to put in city sewer, or sorry, we put in city sewer, but we took
$35,000
off the purchase price.
Yeah.
Because that's what it cost us to put in a pump into the basement, to pump up to the city sewer, and then cut out across the road. So
Okay.
that was
So
something
you have to pay for it though. That's good. Yeah.
No, we didn't. No, we were lucky that it was in the contract that went to city sewer, so it was our.
Yeah.
And it was picked up 3 days
awesome.
before we closed.
Yeah. Oh, good. A good thing that was caught. Yeah. And then on the
Yeah.
boiler thing, like you guys just got really unlucky there. Like it could have been a great deal, but like, yeah, it's like 1 in 1,000 chances or something like that happening, so it's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but again, you had enough profit in there where like, yeah, it sucks you make less, but you still made a profit, which is huge, which is great.
We always started, we thought we were looking at about 80K with the numbers. And we had a 4-month turnaround.
Yeah, originally we thought we would make 40. And then the market really swung and we didn't know we needed a new boiler, and we went, we're going to make 80K here, so we initially made more money than what we initially thought, which was good, but it did sort of go up and then come back down.
Yeah.
But you spend 6 months of your life on a property, blood, sweat, and tears, literally blood, sweat, and tears. And you make, $55,000. It's not that bad. You kind of sit back and say, hey, a lot of people work all year long to make that kind of money.
Exactly.
And we were lucky enough to still make a profit because the market was going down. It's sort of stabilized up there now, but and I think the other thing we did was our initial plumber that we hired to do basic plumbing, not the boiler system. He was the son of a friend of ours, and we were a little bit too loyal and naive. We were a little bit like, yeah, he said he would come around. He said he would come. Oh, he's going to come on this day and not show up and things like that. And now we would just go, forget it. We'll hire someone else. It's not worth it. We didn't for probably 3 weeks. We let it go until he said, I've got 4 days off. I'll come round, and then was uncontactable for the 4 days. We went, no, that's it. Forget it. Now we're not that naive. Now you don't show up,
it's done.
Something had better have happened, and that's it. Like, you get one chance.
I think the other thing we did when we went through you was we got a money partner.
Exactly.
Obviously, being Australians and it's once you have your first flip, trying to get a loan or the standard hard money lenders was quite difficult.
Without putting down a lot of money up front, which we didn't have because
of the move, right?
The move
and
the pandemic and all that sort of stuff. So, but we did put in a fair chunk with our money partners, but that was really smooth. So what would happen? He would send us an email or a phone call saying this guy's going to turn up. He turned up. He took photos of the stuff we'd bought, the work we'd done. He'd send that report off to the hard money lender. Our business department would get their check, and then we would continue on. They would send us our portion of the check. We would use that to buy the next installment of what we needed: drywall, paint, etc., etc. Kept all the receipts, and then I think the halfway mark they did another inspection, and then obviously the final inspection. And they were literally just walked around. He took photos of everything. He was in and out in 15 minutes. Occasionally he'd go, and what have you done here? And you go, well, I've done this and I've done this, and I've spent the money here because obviously the house, when he first did his inspection, there was nothing done. And he went, so what have you done? I went, oh, let's walk out the garage. And all the IKEA was out there, and the ranges are out there, and the fridge and the doors. And he goes, okay, so now I can see where you've spent your money. So took photos, and it justified where we'd spent the money.
And as I mentioned, the valuers, they came the first time, and not much had been done because we were waiting on plumbers. The second time, there had been some progress and they could see it. And we were very, very careful to have everything we needed, so that there was no delays waiting on any products to come in. So we had the refrigerator, the oven, the toilets, the front door in the garage for months.
Mental note: you buy a big fridge, measure your door.
Oh, yeah.
It was like an inch too big. I had to dismantle the fridge and dismantle the door frame to get it in.
Shoot. Yeah. That's a good tip.
At 10 o'clock at night.
It looked good, but yeah, just make sure you measure your doors and your fridges.
Hey, I got a $4,000 fridge for $1,200, so I don't care. It was great.
That's a good deal. Yeah.
But yeah, they came the first time, they came the second time. And then on the third time, the two of them came. So the first guy came the first time, second guy came the second time. Then they both came, and they were both surprised by how much work had been done to finish the property off. And we had our friends around to look at it, and they'd all said, yeah, you've done a good job. But you know, they're our friends. Of course they're going to say that. But these guys actually gave us a ovation, like a clap to say, well done, because they didn't think that the house would be finished to the standard that it was when they came around. They actually were quite surprised that it was done. So it just made all the hard work that we had done, the nights where we'd spent there, the arguments, the shoveling snow, it all made it all worthwhile just to have that validation from complete strangers.
Yeah, no, that's huge. Like, that's a stamp of y'all's quality.
Yeah,
and especially I think. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
So I think another thing you need to look at is definitely a real estate agent. The guy we bought it from, so we bought it from him. We thought we'd sell it through him. Was part of some real estate board, so he was always off to Florida or somewhere else to be part of even when he listed the house, like, we were proud as punch, seriously, over the moon with our house. He walked through and went, no, it's okay, you need to fix that. None of this. I was expecting him, because he sold it to us, so he saw the before and after product. He just seemed underwhelmed, which really annoyed me.
That we decided that we would, he gave us what he thought would be a good selling price, and we were underwhelmed by the selling price. It was what we'd initially discussed when we first bought the property, but with the market, we didn't think it was valid. And as I said, we would go home and we would eat dinner, and I would be on the internet seeing what the market was doing, seeing what sold, you know, keeping my eye on all the properties, talking to everyone that came into work. So I was aware that what he was saying and what the market value was differed. So I interviewed other agents, and I didn't hide the fact from him. I was very honest, and I said, this is the price range I have from them. And both of the other two agents we interviewed were higher. One was ridiculously high, and I think you've got to, if you've got to know the area that you're in and watch what's being sold, even while you are flipping the property. She was
very new to real estate. Like, I'm talking months. And she walked in, she gushed over the property and said, oh, it's worth this much money. I'm going,
$100,000 more than what we even,
So that's crazy,
yeah.
Whilst it's very tempting to go with someone that offers you the world, the other person that we interviewed was quite clear with, actually, it's more like this range. And when we went back to our original agent, we probably shouldn't have gone with him. He did sell the property, but we did a lot of the work ourselves. And for next time, I'm not scared of firing people or saying no. I was a bit like, we bought the property off him, and he did give us some information during the time that we had the property, but honestly, he wasn't the perfect person to sell it, and it's sold on its merits, not on the real estate agent.
I think that's a good lesson that, like, it's a common thread here. Like with the plumber, there was an issue there, should have just been fired. And then with the real estate agent, should have been just fired. But I mean, that's part of the learning process. That's a part of the process. So, you know, first deal is the hardest, then it becomes easier and easier. And that's part of the reason, like, you become a better manager, you become a better, you know, XYZ. And so you guys got that, you know, got to learn those skills and learn that.
We learned a lot of skills. As I said, we learned a lot of skills. I can mud with the best of them now, I tell you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I can lay pretty much any flooring. We can tile. We can do plumbing. We call it outside the wall plumbing. So if it comes out of the wall and connects to your bathroom or your kitchen.
Shark bites are your friend.
Shark bites. Stood out for them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we got a lot of really good feedback on the property. We were super proud. In fact, we were planning on staying in Maine a lot longer. Dale got offered a job that we couldn't refuse, so we moved, but we were looking to stay in Maine longer, and we would have done a lot more flips, but I think we would have done a lot more of the work ourselves. Like, I probably would have gone part-time, not a lot of the work ourselves. I probably would have gone part-time and been there more and managed it so that we finished it quicker. Because I think there were nights when we would finish work at the house and go home, and I would still be doing receipts and things like that to make sure it all tracked.
Yeah.
And we're exhausted. We didn't have a day off in 6 months, and you can't do that to yourself. It's right. And towards the end, we were hustling, but we really needed help, and we weren't able to do it. Yeah.
No, I think a definite trick would be to hire out can I just say, hire a painter, hire a plasterer.
I'm a painter.
These are the ones the jobs that these guys do, because they have all the tools they can do in 3 days.
It's
sure, it's going to cost you $5,000 more than it's going to cost you, but they're in and out in 3 days. It took us probably, I'd say, 3 weeks to paint the house.
Oh,
you know
wow.
What I mean? So,
yeah.
But we painted literally, because the paint was reds, greens. There was
the original paint, not the new paint. The
colors,
original.
Colors were bleeding through.
Old colors.
Yeah. So we had to go and buy a spray gun, and then you told me to go and buy that. And you told me to tape everything up. The tools you need to buy, literally, and the time that it takes you, you're better off hiring a tradesman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is my tip.
Good lesson. Yeah. And it saves you a lot of time, especially when you're like working so hard, you don't have a break. You know, you could have taken a little break during that time.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things we bought a lot of equipment because we couldn't get the help we needed. Like, I saw painters every day at work. Yeah. They didn't have time. They couldn't do it. They too busy. And when people would show up to give us quotes and that, if I was there, honestly, one man asked me when my husband was getting there. Like, a lot of the things that I know, I worked in a hardware store. I'd done a lot of stuff. I can put down LVP quicker than he can. And yet I still had men asking me when my husband was getting there. It's like, hang on, I know what I'm doing too. Like, we're a team, but a lot of times people didn't want to work for me. Like, they didn't think that we were going to do very well because I was a woman. I still am a woman.
And I think that the other issue was you've got to be concerned about is your tradesmen pushing their ideas upon you.
Oh, like that's a good one.
When you walk up and you go, this is what I want. Yeah, no, I reckon you should do this. No, that's not what I want. I want this. Yeah, but this is a much better this. It's only $1,000 more. Do you have that in stock? Oh, no, it'll take me 6 weeks to get it. Then I don't want it. Yeah, but it's the way of the future. I don't care. You know what I mean? So it's the tradesman telling you what you should have. the first plumber before we went with the guys that did the job was very much that. He was pushing his products, and he was, I think he was actually cheaper in the end, cheaper than the company we went with. The company that we went with were awesome. They were just, we were getting phone calls from them. Is everything okay? Let me know what time they're going to be there.
He was $9,000 cheaper.
Yeah,
but he was $9,000 cheaper with no contingency. The plumbers we went with for the boiler had a turnkey policy, so it was $33,000, I think, and it was turnkey. So there was a couple of things that they didn't actually specify that we got thrown in because I'd spoken to them about it when they'd come round, and I had it recorded that we were doing it. He'd written it on a piece of paper and given me a copy of it, but he didn't have it in the quote. So he said, no, I haven't quoted that. And it's like, well, that's what we discussed. So he had to do it, which is quite good, you know, but get a contract if you're spending that much money.
and the other one was the first guy said, "Here's, I need X amount of dollars for contingency," and I said, "So what if you don't spend that money?" And he goes, "Oh no, I will." Well, if you are, why aren't you quoting that?
Yeah,
because it's a contingency. But if you don't spend it, do I get that back? Oh no, it's part of the quote. It's not part of the quote. It's the contingency. That's what I need just in case. So, which literally put him, by the time he put his contingency in, it was about $3,000 less than the other guys. And I went, you can't give me a contingency quote and then not give me the money back if you don't spend it.
And then said it could be more than that.
And it could, that was the other one. Oh, it could be more. So
yeah, not good.
So that's another one. Plumbers, as much as I love plumbers and they do a good job, get yourself a good plumber.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, especially like beginner flippers or beginner like real estate investors. It's so easy to have that outside pressure. It's like, oh, the plumber said to do this. Like, oh, okay, I should do it. And then instead of like, you have a gut feeling, oh, I should just do this, or I should do what, you know, what other people say or what other investors say, or, you know, don't diss
them all. Sometimes they come up and go, because we have these ideas and we want this. And he went, when he goes, if you did that, and went, oh, actually, that'll work better. So don't diss all the ideas. Because some of the ideas we had, he just went, that is not going to happen. You're so stupid. Do that. Oh, okay. And it actually made sense. But this is the second guys we went through. We ended up being friends with them. They were really good.
But they also, those guys who gave us some great ideas and helped us out a lot, they also didn't like some of the things we did and were quite vocal about it, to the point where at one day when I'd been at work for 9 hours and then I'd come to the house, and you know what? I didn't want the guy I was employing telling me that he didn't like my wall color because I had a vision. And he didn't know what my vision was. He didn't know what color my cabinets were in the kitchen. He didn't know all the information, but he was giving me grief about it. And I cannot tell a lie. I cried in front of him, which I didn't want to do ever. And I'm like, can you just stop? I just don't want to hear it. And later on, once the kitchen was in, and he actually came and said, it's perfect. You picked the right color. But
nice. Okay, that's good.
He made me doubt myself, and at that time he was a pretty close friend already. Like, he had done so much work. He'd come over. He had a car accident. He'd come over just to see our progress because he wasn't at work anymore. So, you know, let them have their opinions. Let them tell you the helping hand stuff, but also don't take it to heart when they don't like what you pick.
Yeah, I like it. That's solid, because everyone has their own opinion, you know.
Of course they do. I mean, I wasn't keen on the colors at all. But I decided that I would do the grunt work and she would do the design. That was fine, and it worked. You know what I mean? So
it worked out.
You guys, I'm going to paint that green. Yes, dear. We'll paint it green.
Awesome. Cool. Fantastic. Anything else like you guys want to share about the process, like buying it, renovating it, selling it, anything like that?
Buying it was joyous because you're like, oh my God, it's my first flip and this is exciting. The during was hard work, and we definitely had our ups and downs, because, you know, middle of winter in Maine, 2 foot of snow, ridiculous.
Mhm.
And selling it was probably the most stressful part.
Mm.
Making sure that it was always neat and tidy. Like, we'd done so much work that there was still days when we would get there and we'd have to dust a little bit of drywall dust off things still, and we'd had a leak in the bathroom when we turned the water back on, so we had to do a little bit of sanding of some drywall again.
Mhm.
But having people come and look at the house and having your real estate agent go, oh, we've got someone that wants a second look and things like that, and getting your hopes up, and then them saying, well, they've offered this. Because we got a couple of low ball offers, and they were still going to make us a little bit of money, but we just didn't think that they were where we needed to be. We were very lucky with the people that bought it, just loved everything about it. But it was stressful. It was the most stressful part, knowing that our product that we'd worked so hard on was out for everyone to basically judge. So don't take what people say to heart, because it can be quite disheartening when people are saying, oh, I wouldn't have done that. Focus on the good stuff they say. You know, give yourself a pat on the back. If you have done something that should be fixed, fix it. You know, you want someone to move into a property you flipped and love their home because they're brand new to them and they love it, and not have to come back to you and say, well, you didn't do your best work.
Yeah. And I think, oh, go ahead. I was going to say,
sorry, I have two. So, and really quickly, tools of the trade. Make sure you literally have a decent table saw and a decent drop saw and decent battery tools, right? Because at some stage during that job, you will need to cut, drill, screw, some sort of idea. Luckily, I'm a tool freak, so I had 90% of the tools, but they're the ones you need the most of. And
if you're doing the work,
if you're doing the work, and you will be doing some of the work yourself. You're not going to stop yourself from doing it. The other one, what I said before, was the tradies. So my suggestion would be a painter. I would spend, if I did this again, I would spend without a heartbeat. I would take $5,000 out of my profit yesterday to give it to a painter. Because just not only that, the time you go through and patch up all the holes, wait for that to dry, sand all the holes, undercoat, top coat. Do not just hire a painter. These guys are worth their weight in gold. Absolutely.
On that, I did all the painting.
And a good drywaller. Unless you're good, drywalling, we found out, because we did probably 90% of the property had to be re-drywalled at some stage. Drywall is easy to put up, but to get a good finish takes a long time. There's a lot of sanding, a lot of sanding if you don't do it right. So
we skimmed over 14 layers of wallpaper in one room. So 14 layers.
So that's my tip. Would be the don't skip on your trades. Take that into account. So if you've got a budget of $10,000 for your trades, add another $5,000 just in case.
Just make your life easier. It's worth it.
Absolutely. And we would have been in and out of that property, I think, probably a month, 6 weeks earlier. But the boiler killed us. The boiler put us up into our margins.
Also, retain your tradies. Like, make them, pay them their going rate, and make sure they're the first people you get in for your next flip. Because once you have a really good set of tradies around you, like, we knew that if we bought another property, we had 3 people that we were instantly going to go to. So, you know, once you get your team, even if they are $1,000, $2,000 more than the other guy, pay them. They're your team. So
another thing,
I love it.
Buy your tradies a pizza. Buy your tradies a pizza. Buy them lunch once every couple of days,
and some beer.
Seriously, for the bargain basement price of like $25, their workload, their work will increase exponentially.
It
So it's
goes
the
a
Not
long
all
small,
the
way.
time,
Yeah.
just occasionally.
yeah,
Okay.
it's,
Not every day.
it's the small things. Yeah,
Yeah. No, that's so great. Yeah, I mean that's you see that because then it becomes more machine-like. Your next deal becomes easier because you're like, okay, you just call the person, they do it super easy. You know, call them, they do it. It's 3 phone calls and it's done. You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
you get to that level with some of these houses, and
Because the issue that we had obviously was getting tradesmen. So they'd come out, they'd quote on the job.
Mhm.
The quote was stupid. You have to wait and get another tradesman. I can be there next week. He comes out, stupid quote. So while all that's happening, you're losing weeks. We weren't losing days. We were losing weeks waiting for a tradesman to turn up and give me a stupid quote, which he knew. We used to call them F off quotes because that was just the quote that he would give you because he didn't want the job or
Yeah.
the fact that if I took the job, he was going to make a hell of a lot of money out of it. So
Mhm.
we used to call them those quotes. And some of them were just stupid. You know what I mean? Like $15,000 more than what they should have been. Because people pay it. Some people will actually go and pay that amount of money. So
Yeah, that's pretty common where contractors instead of saying like no, I can't take it on, they just give you a really high quote. And just like you're saying, either they don't get it and they have an out, so to speak, where it's
yeah,
not like, oh, no, they're not saying no to you. And then if you do take it, like it's really profitable. So that happens though. So
yeah.
I got quoted $12,000, $12,000 to refinish a staircase. It
Really?
cost us $500 and 3 days worth of sanding. I mean, the sanding sucked, but
Yeah, but not
it cost us
12,000.
$500 and he quoted $12,000. And he wasn't going to do anything other than what we did.
Yeah,
And just
that's
stupid
crazy.
things like that because
Yeah,
he
that's so
knew.
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, awesome. You guys had quite the experience, learned a lot, you know, did a deal, made a profit, you know, so that's fantastic. Couldn't be happier. All that in mind, like, would you guys recommend others work with me as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we definitely would. When we were in Nevada, we spent a lot of time looking at properties, and there you would go to a property and people would snap it up. And that was even before we started. We were just sort of starting to talk to you then, but you would look at deals for us. And obviously, when we moved, we'd started working with you. Your knowledge is invaluable. Working out ways to actually keep track of your expenses, figuring out how to do the deal, making sure that it's going to be profitable. Everything you taught us, we used throughout that entire process. So, absolutely work with Victor. He's incredible.
And don't be scared of offending someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you make an offer on a house and it's a stupid offer, don't go home tonight and go, "Oh my God, I've just offended Mrs. Smith." It's not a personal thing. It's a business deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So if they want to sell the house to you, they will sell the house to you. It's as simple as that.
I think you say don't be scared of the
Scared
sticker
of it,
price.
Yeah.
Yeah, like sticker shock. Don't be scared of sticker shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because someone wants a price. Like everyone, you said, oh, I want to sell this house. How much do you want? Like $1 million. I mean, that's what they want, but what are they going to get? You know?
Yeah.
But we were able to walk through a number of houses, and I will admit the boiler was a little bit of a kick for us. We did get a quote before we bought it and we hadn't inspected, but everything else we quoted was from documents that you shared with us. And it was on the money. Like everything else was on the money, even for Maine, where some of the things are far more expensive than the rest of the country. We were right on the money with everything else we estimated. So that was really helpful.
Actually, yeah, we were pretty much, when our budget came out, even with our money partners, we were pretty bang on. We weren't. I think when we did our money, we were like $1,000 more, $1,000 less, or something like that. So
okay, that's impressive. Yeah,
we were pretty spot on with they said the boiler killed us, but without that, we would have been with the information that you sent us. Yeah, we're pretty much bang on.
We also met our money partners through your networking. So they were incredible, very easy to deal with. It was our first time. So we, at the end, we're a bit confused by all the figures, but they were so gentle and kind with us. But we also all made money. It was a great experience because
Yeah.
they do flips regularly. So that was pretty good too, that we were able to network and find someone that could help us out because we didn't have as much money as we needed to do the first flip.
Mhm.
And they'd had flips under their belt, so they got better rates than we would.
Right. No, that's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate you guys hopping on here, kind of sharing your story, sharing your entire journey. It was a hell of a journey, and I'm looking forward to y'all's next flips. And I think it's going to be a lot easier next time. So it might not
I
be
hope
as
so.
exciting, but but it'll still be good. But cool. Before we wrap up, any final thoughts? Anything else you'll want to share about anything?
Don't be scared to do it.
Mm.
It is very daunting. It's a lot of money, and don't be scared. There is always going to be someone that's going to buy the house. Just make sure you follow the rules. There's definitely profit in it. And even if the market stays perfectly still, you will be able to sell it as long as you follow the formula properly.
Mhm.
Don't flip a house that you want to live in. So flip a house to sell a house. Don't flip a house because you like green or you like blue or you think these tiles are fantastic. So things like Pinterest or whatever it's going to be, pick a thing, follow what the trends are, follow what the trending colors are. Just because you like blue doesn't mean that's on trend at the moment. Just because you like checkered tiles doesn't mean that's on trend at the moment. So follow the trends and flip a house for the market, not for you.
Yeah.
And follow the trends to a certain extent. Don't go putting in those fancy schmancy designer tiles that a lot of people are doing right now, because there's going to be someone walk in who doesn't like it at all and would particularly pull it apart.
Yeah.
So basic colors, like we used a base of green. We did because we were told 2023 green's the color. But everything was really subtle. Like it was very easy to change anything you didn't like.
Okay.
And we did use some accent walls and things like that, but in places that weren't really going to be an issue if you really hated the color. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool. So do your research. IKEA, as I said, go to IKEA, even for light fittings. IKEA for light fittings were just the light fittings we put out. Sorry, she picked were fantastic. They were just stunning, and even everyone commented, and they were cheap. They were very, very cheap, cheaper than Home Depot. Delivered.
Everyone commented on some of our light fixtures because they weren't from a big box store. They weren't $70 a piece. They were 20, and everyone commented on them because they were unusual and different from what everyone would see in the big box stores.
I like it. And it was IKEA for the light fixtures as well? Okay.
Yeah, all IKEA do it. Oh, yeah.
IKEA did. Awesome. We got our kitchen, and it was 3.5 hours drive from where we lived. So they delivered our kitchen, and then there were some things that were on back order. We did pay for delivery, but we paid once, and we actually got 3 separate deliveries for them under that one delivery cost. They are exceptional. We did our kitchen, our
fittings,
all our fixtures and fittings, our lights,
knobs and door handles and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff came from IKEA, and we saved $5,000 on our kitchen alone. You do have to put together flat pack, but there are people that will do that for you. You can hire them, but it is simple. And the finish on them is exceptional, like soft close. You can afford to get a really high-end kitchen for a fraction of the price, something that you would pay a lot more for in a kitchen retailer or a big box store if you went sort of up the grades.
And I think the other one on that is the turnaround time. So if you need to go to a box store, they give you a 12 to 15 week turnaround, and which they were doing at the time. Whereas IKEA was, I think it was 6 weeks delivered.
6 weeks. Okay. That's a big difference.
There is, so if you want to get in and out quick, look. And the IKEA, from memory, the IKEA website, you just put the measurements in. It literally builds the cabinets for you. Tells you that you can't put that there because it won't fit. This won't open. This won't close.
Get a big red cross.
You then are in direct contact with an IKEA person.
You get a designer allocated to you.
It is the way to go.
So you'll put in the measurements. You do have to take good measurements, like make sure that you put everything perfectly. That is up to you. They can send someone to measure for you, but you have to be a lot closer than we were. So we had to measure it ourselves. And the designer will comment on things, give you different ideas. We were missing one gold pull for one of the drawers, and they sent it overnight delivery. So
crazy.
And everything is, I just love soft clothes. Everything was soft clothes. They are exceptionally good value for what you get.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you guys are a fan of IKEA? I couldn't tell.
IKEA. Also Wayfair.
Okay.
Wayfair has some exceptionally good deals, but go and have a look in sales bins in online with Lowe's, with Home Depot. Look at all the stuff that's if you go into the store, look for the stickers with it's the last one. It doesn't matter if it's the last one. Like, your bathroom upstairs doesn't have to match your bathroom downstairs. Buy the last one. Get it the cheapest. Don't buy the $200 faucet that goes in the kitchen. Buy the $99 one that I got from IKEA that has a little magnet on it that you actually wave under it and it turns on by itself. People he didn't like it. People thought it was a really expensive faucet, but it was $90 and it was gold, which, everyone thought it was a $200 to $300 faucet. It wasn't. Make sure you do your research in what's hot and buy it cheap. Just spend a couple of hours on the internet.
Awesome.
There you go.
Cool.
That's it.
Well, appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much for hopping on here. Thanks for sharing.
Welcome.
Yeah, appreciate it. And this has been great. It's been fantastic.
Thanks, Victor. And if anyone has any questions, we highly recommend Victor. He will absolutely help you out. But we're also happy to answer any questions people have.
Awesome. Well, appreciate it, guys. Till next time.
Thanks,
Victor.